Hello and welcome to Fin Business. We're at Cybos and I'm in conversation with Benjamin from Red Hat. Benjamin, welcome on the show.
Thank you.
So, the whole world is talking about digital banking, new innovations, artificial intelligence, blockchain. But there is one thing specifically called Open API. Everybody is interested in it. Even at Cybos, there are many sessions specifically for Open API. I would like to take your perspective on Open API. How Open API can actually transform the financial sector.
Sure. Yeah, so open APIs is a really fundamental aspect to this change that's going on in financial services called open banking. So open banking is about the breakdown and reassembling of the value chain of financial services or banking as we know today. And APIs is the key driver that facilitates open banking. Now, when we think about APIs, APIs are nothing more than a software development and delivery issue because it's delivered through software. An API is a piece of software code. And so banks are really trying to figure out how do they master the art of doing software development and delivery of those APIs in a continuous, highly scalable, highly flexible way, and then tie those APIs to the business objectives that open banking is pushing and coming upon banks.
So when we are talking about Open API, open banking, what are the major challenges there? Because financial institutions, banks will always worry about the security. They will always concern about the giving the data and authority to a tech company to operate. What is the user case study or what is the experience that you have got till now? What is your observation?
Yeah, there's two vectors that are going on. There's the regulatory aspects to open banking, like PSD2, for instance, within Europe, that's asking and requiring the banks to open up their services to each other. You have similar regulation that's going on in Australia, and then Japan's coming out, and Singapore, and then India's coming out with some further regulation around that. So that's a regulatory issue that the banks are trying to grasp with. And then there's the issue of, if we don't do this and be on the front foot with this, then we're going to get disintermediated within the value chain of what is traditional banking. So there's two sort of vectors that are coming upon the banks to be able to adhere to that. And the challenges are then, how do we have an architecture that supports rapid, highly scalable, secure APIs and securing customer data and all that? And then how do we deliver those APIs in a repeatable, highly scalable, fast and iterative way? And so those are two really big issues that the banks are coming to Red Hat and saying, help us support our open banking and our open API strategy that will then help us execute on either the regulatory issue or the business opportunities that come with open APIs and open banking.
What is the challenge that you see? What are the major pain points? Or where exactly, it gets stuck when you're dealing with the banks?
Oh, that's a great question. It's multifaceted. So there's the technology aspect, and that is talking to the classic IT department within the bank that's looking at their architectures, looking at their software practices, looking at their security practices of how they do software development and deliver those APIs. The other is the organization. And so the organization is trying to figure out what structural changes do we need to make that allow the better facilitation of the business objectives of those APIs to how we actually do software development and architectures. And there's often a very stark breakdown between those two aspects within the bank. And so we see with the approach to open architectures, open banking, open source, Red Hat can really help those organizations build those bridges of the IT department and the way they do IT and the business and the way they need to operate with regards to openness, transparency, collaboration, facilitation of the fast flow of information and feedback cycles in how they want to deliver those APIs.
Do you believe, since you mentioned the point and a word called collaboration, which is very important for the fintech and the banking sector today, do you think that the collaboration is the major challenge?
I think it's definitely one of the key challenges. When we think about the way we work and the way banks work as an institution, there are the products, and those products are now being represented by APIs, and then it's the delivery of IT or software to make those products work. And so collaboration is a really, really fundamental prerequisite in order to make that open banking, those open APIs work for the business.
Right.
And traditionally, banks have been quite siloed in their different departments and divisions. They've had subject matter experts within each of their groups. And so there's been a breakdown of that information and that flow of work. And so collaboration is a really fundamental prerequisite to make that really accelerate and transition quickly.
What are the challenges when it comes to security? Because you have to upgrade it every day. How do you actually prevent the frauds there? Because nobody knows when you will be hacked. Something like that, if I ask you specifically. Because one thing is very sure that the banks are also looking for open API and they want to open their applications and application program interface for the tech companies so that they can be a better service. But how are you going to tackle the security? Because nobody knows what is going to happen.
Yeah, it's a really big topic, and it's something that is again very multifaceted. So security both is a process, a policy, and also a technological issue.
Right.
And so approaching and managing the security requires an adherence to those three areas in consultation and collaboration with each other. So Red Hat, we understand the security implications in the technological and technology and architecture, and we spend a lot of time engineering our products and our services to ensure that security is baked what we call further upstream in the software development and delivery process.
True.
But then also looking at security around the policies of when you release software, has it been checked off? Has it gone through the security testing and procedures and the auditing and the flows? And so there's ways that we can help organizations address that. And then there's also the people that are adhered to what responsibilities do they have to be able to release that software or manage those security policies in a convivial and fast way. A really, really key aspect to this is not a case of if you're going to get hacked, it's a case of when you're going to get hacked.
Absolutely.
And then how do you detect that, and then how do you respond to that in the most expeditious and fastest way and diagnose those issues within your software and delivery architectures. So Red Hat's certainly got some practices and experience in terms of helping organizations address those areas. But it is a very big and difficult area that is just growing in the nature of way open banking and open APIs work, because you are exposing your data and your services to a broader way of consumers of that, being fintechs or other third parties that the banks didn't have to deal with before.
True, absolutely. Frankenstein story, if you remember, the monster is growing and
Yes.
Frankenstein doesn't know how to tame it.
Right.
That is how the happening with the security. You're developing the technology, but you do not know the bad sides, how to handle that. Thank you so much, Benjamin, for giving those insights. Thank you so much for talking to FinBusiness.
Thank you very much.
So that was Benjamin who spoke about Open API and the security challenges related to that aspect. Thank you so much for watching FinBusiness.